Okay, here we are. So we're trying to understand here project management. We've gone through the introductory level where we'll try to understand, look at the general overview of project management, various roles in project management. That's giving you fundamental knowledge of roles or expectation at the end of this program. What can you push? What career type of careers you can pursue, like project manager, project coordinator, project support office, and so many of them. And to be honest with you, there's countless of role in project management you can kickstart with, like project support and project coordinator. So many of them in NHS, like some of you that have got interest in NHS, there are so many project support work and project coordinator work in NHS. So now, having understand that, what are the real fundamental aspects of what constitutes of project management? How do we start projects? What do we expect? What are the things expected of us when we are starting projects and in project management? So we are starting the first fundamental or the core topic or subject we need to understand in project management is the life cycle of a project. Just like a human being, we have a life cycle. A project have a life cycle. The first thing is to understand the project life cycle. When you understand the project life cycle, you understand where the project begins and where the project ends. So that is the life cycle. When you are going for interview, some of the questions they are going to throw at you to shake you up to know if you really understand what you are doing is, how do you approach a project as a project manager? Even as a business analyst, they're still going to ask you, how do you approach a project as a business analyst? Or what are the projects you've handled? How did you approach that project as a project manager? So if you do not understand what life cycle means, it means you are going to struggle with that kind of interview question. But once you know life cycle very well, approaching a project as a project manager start from project conception, which is initiating the project. So you start from the beginning, from conception, you call it conception, you call it initiation. In business analysis, we call it discovery. You know, that's why these two career profession, they are two different, although they are quite similar and they work, but they use different terminology in some areas. So in project management, the full project life cycle starts from project initiation. After initiation, we'll have project planning or definition. Then we'll have project launch or execution. Then we'll have project performance monitoring and control, and we'll have closure. This is what we call full project life cycle. This is the project. As a project manager, this is what you'll be doing on regular basis, following a project from 1 to 5. In some cases, if you don't see this number 4, it's still okay. Some people just initiate, define, execute, and close. They remove this control, monitoring and control. And the reason being that monitoring and control revolves around from the beginning to the end. Everything is weaved around monitoring and control. But we put monitoring and control for you to understand that there is another area that is very important within the life cycle called monitoring and control. So monitoring and control start from 1, because you keep on monitoring, you keep on controlling as a project manager. In 2, you keep on monitoring and controlling. In 3, you keep on monitoring and controlling till the end of the project. So let's quickly look at some of the deliverables, key deliverables from a project manager. Within every stage, a project manager needs to deliver some key documents. Equally, business analysts need to deliver some key documents in each of these stages. But here we are focusing on project manager deliverables, not business analysts. When we get to business analysis, we'll look at it from business analysis point of view. In project initiation, the project manager tries to initiate the project. I call it project initiation. These project initiations start from a kickoff meeting. You call a project kickoff meeting where you try to identify the team members and then try to understand the roles and responsibilities of everybody. Then you try to identify the key stakeholders and their expectation. This is part of the initiate. These are what you need to do as a project manager within the initiate stage. When you have come up with the stakeholders, list of stakeholders and their expectations, it's time for you to come up with a project charter. You work with the business analyst, if there is one, at that point, to come up with a project charter. Because you cannot do anything, you can't spend money, you can't do anything in any project without a project charter. Like some of you that have got interest in public sectors, like NHS, there is need for you to have a project charter. These are some of the key documents we are going to look at. The next topic we are going to look at is the deliverables within project, deliverables and documents in project management. So project charter is a document that authorizes the project manager to start spending or executing within that project. Without a project charter, if anything goes wrong, more especially in public sector, you're liable, you can go to prison because nobody authorizes you to spend taxpayers' money. But when you have a project charter, that gives you the authority to start spending. So that is the key documentation a project manager should be looking at producing within the first. There's other little document, but these are the key major documents. We need to look at every document in detail as we progress. Then we'll have project definition. At this stage, you call it project definition, you call it define stage, or we call it planning stage.
Okay.
This is where the project manager starts what we kind of trying to understand the scope, the budget based on stakeholders' expectations, and trying to create a budget, breakdown structure, create project plan. You can use Gantt chart at this moment and create risk management plan. This is what you do at this point, so that when the project goes into execution, you can use all this plan to monitor the project. You have create a communication plan that you communicate with the stakeholders and every other team members. It's very important to create communication plan. Gantt chart and the project plan is the same thing. So you can create a Gantt chart or you create a work breakdown structure. A work breakdown structure is trying to break the work into manageable stage, into a manageable stage. And then when you start adding budget, timeline within the work breakdown structure, it becomes a project plan. So at this moment, this is what you do. And then risk management. You have to have a good risk management plan, such as risk register, RAID log. These are things you need to create, documents you need to create to start managing and controlling the project. Once all these documentation are ready and the business analyst is ready at this point as well, because as you are working, producing your own deliverable as a project manager, the business analyst will equally be working at coming up with his own deliverables. Somehow at this point, business analysts will try to create a project or a product backlog, trying to translate business requirement into technical requirement. Business analysts will start trying to create user stories, acceptance criteria, use cases, test cases, test plan, test scenarios. This is what the business analyst should be doing within the defined stage. But in project manager, this is your own core functions and deliverables that you need to deliver. So when we are going to start, we are going to break it down into area. Let me look at this. Like you see this, this is a project life cycle, kind of. It is ERP implementation project life cycle. So you look at this way, you see the projects. This is project manager and this is business analyst. So the project manager will do kind of conduct feasibility studies, identify stakeholders, develop project charter. Then the business analyst will identify business need and pain points, analyze current business processes, define business requirements. You see, this is a kind of a project plan created here. You see, this item has been broken down into phases. You see the initiate stage, you see planning stage. And within planning stage, you see PM here. You see what the PM is doing. The PM defines scope, develop a project plan, work breakdown structure, Gantt chart with budget, create risk management plan, and select and procedure for ERP software. So, and then the business analyst will create what we call a BRD, develop user stories and acceptance criteria, and the project manager will then have to interface with the selected vendor, or this is not only, this has to be done with the business analyst. So at this point, I need to make it that this is not only project manager, it's going to be both project manager and the business analyst. So this is what they are going to be doing. But this is just showing you kind of scenario how this is broken down. You can see this is a life cycle, and this is the status. So when the project starts, whichever one that is being delivered, if you finish, you consider it to be completed, or put it in review, or you say that it's in progress, or you say not started. But this is the document we are going to be using, like when we start the project proper. We're just trying to give you an overview of how to break a project down in a project life cycle and key deliverables. So let's move back to our notes. So this is the full life cycle here. So within the project launch or execution, the project manager will do the status and tracking, KPIs. KPIs mean the key performance indicators, and the quality. These are what the project manager will be trying to monitor. Tracking the key performance indicators, the quality of the project, and project forecast. These are three key major things a project manager. There are so many other, but key things is the project quality, which means the project must be on standard and the project must be within the time frame, and you have to monitor the budget. So when you see status and tracking here, you are tracking the project budget, you are tracking the project timeline, and you are equally looking at key KPI. Is it aligning with the stakeholders' objective? And equally, is it within the quality standards specified within the acceptance criteria documented by the business analyst? And you keep on forecasting. The forecasting is trying to look for danger, look for risk, and try to mitigate all these risks within the project risk management plan. And you move from there, you come to control. Like I said, control revolves around everything you do in this life cycle. You look at the objective, keep on monitoring, performance monitoring, look at the objectives. The objectives of that particular project. You keep on monitoring whether the project is within the objective or whether the project is moving out of the objective, which is the scope. Then you have to continue to monitor the quality deliverables, effort and cost tracking, and performance. These are things you continue to monitor. And when the project is about to close, these are some of the things the project manager needs to come up with. Some documentation, more especially the project closure report. The project manager needs to produce closure reports. There are so many reporting documentation we need to look at within this closure. Within closure as well, the business analysts need to come up with their own documentation. But this is the phase of a project. These phases is what we call project management life cycle. So this is what you need to observe in every project as a project manager or a project coordinator, or when you are involved in a project, you must pass through this phase. So let's look at all these phases in details. Now we're going to look at the initiation. During the initiate stage, the project manager conducts a feasibility studies to assess the project's viability. This is done in conjunction with the business analyst. So you work with the business analyst, and the business analyst need to produce a document called business case. And this is the reason why I'm always pairing project management stroke business analysis together, because it's difficult in modern time to manage a project very well without the help of a business analyst, more especially in IT. So the feasibility study will decide whether the project is viable or not. You cannot go into a project that is not viable. Viability means the profitability or the gain obtained from that project. Business analysts need to come up with a document to justify that the project is viable. The document is called cost-benefit analysis document, which is going to be part of the business case. Then identify the stakeholders and their requirements. This is what the project manager needs to do. You must understand all the stakeholders involved and understand what are they expecting from this particular project. Then develop a project charter to formally authorize the project and appoint a project manager. So when a project charter is being developed and signed, before you start, the project manager must issue out the project charter for the project charter to be signed. That means authorizing him to become the project manager. So once the project charter is being we'll call it validation, is being validated, it means that the project manager becomes authoritatively a manager for this project and have rights to spend money that is associated with that project. If the project is not, the project charter is not validated, if you are working in public sector, I will advise you not to, embark on that project. Why I'm saying this, because I've seen clear where this happened. I used to work in London Underground then, and these two big boys project managers went to prison because of things like this. Started working on a project, spending money without proper documentation. And this is a cross-rail project where a lot of money is involved and a lot of government eyes, everybody's eyes within that project. They want to know the outcome of this project, how money is being spent in this project. Like during COVID-19, a lot of money was pumped into NHS. A lot of people are monitoring how that money was being spent. If you're a project manager within that project, you might be innocent, but because you do not have a project charter that authorizes you to spend money, you start buying face mask because you want to save the people. You start doing this and that without any authorization. It can be dangerous, So that is, project charter is very, very important. Project chart is very important documents in project management, more especially to project management. Then we'll come to planning. During this phase, detailed planning is conducted to define the project's deliverables, schedule, budget, and resources. Key activities include creating project management plan, outlining project objectives, scope, schedule, budget, and quality requirement. Develop work breakdown structure to break project into manageable deliverable. Here we see project plan, let's say project plan and the work breakdown structure. It confuses people when it comes to, more especially the new entrants in project management. And we are still going to look at both documents or both topic in details, but still let me make more clarification, give you more understanding at this foundational stage. You see, project breakdown structure is a skeleton, is the first step of trying to organize the project activity by breaking them down, everything into stages. So you can call it stages, or you can call it categories and subcategories. It depends on whichever name you want to give it, but it's you breaking the project into manageable stages by breaking them down into initiate stage, define stage, execute stage, closure stage. These are manageable stage, and under every stage, you still break it down into sub-stages under tasks or deliverable. This is what we call work breakdown structure. At this point, is not a project plan, but over time, this work breakdown structure can be upgraded into a project plan. When you upgrade it into a project plan is when you start adding within the tasks, these manageable tasks here and deliverables here, you see, break them into deliverables and manageable time. At this point in project breakdown structure, this does not have any timeline. There is no time attached to any of these tasks, and there is no budget attached to it. So it's just a breakdown structure of breakdown of activities into manageable stages or tasks. When you start, look at project management plan, outlining the project objective scope. Scope here means time. And you see schedule, budget, quality. So you at this point you start adding timeline, adding budget. So means how much is it going to take to create a particular task in this breakdown structure. After adding all this, it becomes a full-fledged project plan. So that's what we call a project breakdown structure and a project plan.
Yeah.
So, and then still in planning stage, identify and assess project risk and develop risk mitigation strategies. Here you need to have, it's still at the planning stage. You are trying to plan. Planning means creating documents you are going to use to manage the project. So you need to create a risk management plan. Everything here is about planning. So it's say plan, risk management plan. Risk management plan means you need to create documents to manage your risk, such as risk register, where you register all the risks, or you create a RAID log where you log all risk incidents, dependencies, and the rest of them, and the management mitigation plans, and where you assign owners to every risk. Some of the risk management plan is trying to avoid a risk or trying to, accept a risk. These are some of the risk management you need to create before the project really goes into execution. We'll have details of this. We are going to discuss all this into details. So don't worry. So then establish communication and reporting channel for effective project communication. At this point as well, you need to create a communication plan. You call it communication register, or you call it a stakeholder analysis. Within the stakeholder analysis, we have a communication action plan. This communication action plan decide the type of stakeholder and the type of communication plan associated with every stakeholder. You can't use a particular plan to manage or to communicate to all the stakeholders. In a project, we'll have high influence stakeholders like the senior managers. A CEO might be interested in a project. It's not the way you communicate with a business analyst. Is the way you are going to communicate with the CEO or the initiator of the project or the senior managers. Some of them have the way you are going to communicate with them. Some of them, you can call a project manager, a business analyst on phone. Have you done this? I need the reports, or I need to do this. Casually, you can call a business analyst at any point in time as a project manager. But the senior manager or the initiator or the sponsor, you can't just pick up your cup. Well, it depends on your relationship. Even if you have a good relationship or cordial relationship, it's always good to be mindful of boundaries. So you can't just pick a phone and call a director that way. Even if you are very close in a project, give the person the respect due to the person. Outside the project, you can relate the way you want to relate. So, but you have to be professional when it comes to projects. Some people, you don't need to be bombarding them with reports. Every day you'll be telling them this. So some of them, you can just communicate them on monthly basis. Some of them, you can just give them project status reports on weekly basis. Some of them, you give them access to the project management tracking environment like Basecamp, where they can be getting updates of everything that is going on within the Basecamp and monitoring how the project is going on. These are different communication strategies involved. So these are things you need to, at this stage, you need to plan on various communication strategies and reporting channels. You see channel here.
Yeah,
so channel here can be email, it can be phone call, it can be reporting through Basecamp and other things. So these are what we call communication and reporting channels. So you must develop a plan to do that. Then when you set into the execution, these are the things that you need to do. At this point, you start mobilizing project resources, including personnel. Personnel are people that are going to work within that project. At this point, you might need developers to be part of this project because they might be the people doing the configuration or developing the actual code, depending on the kind of project you're executing. You need some equipment and materials equally. So Then implementing the project plan and managing project tasks to ensure they are completed on time and within the budget. So then monitoring project progress and performance against the project baseline. So you can see that this monitoring and control is kind of taking place here, and we've not gotten to stage 4. So like I said, this is the reason why some people don't capture monitoring and control as a stage, because monitoring and control revolves around from the initiate stage to the closure stage. Then you need to monitor the project against the baseline. The baseline is a benchmark. It's very important to create a project, call it project baseline. These are one thing you need to understand in project management. At any point in time, as soon as the project starts, you must have a baseline. That is the benchmark in every aspect of that project, in terms of budget, in terms of timeline, in terms of quality. There must be a baseline, more especially budget and timeline. You cannot go above this baseline. Before you can go above this baseline, you must get approval why you should go above the baseline once the project started. Example of baseline can be a timeline. Let's look at timeline as a baseline. A project that is supposed to end in 6 months, and it's quite obvious to you that this project cannot end in 6 months. So 6 months is your initial baseline. You must create it in your project plan. After creating your project plan, when you get to tools you use for project management, you will see how to use baseline. You must baseline the project within the project plan. So when you are moving above the initial baseline, there must be authorization for you to go above the initial baseline. If you don't go have any authorization moving, you will start seeing indicators within the project line, within the project plan, showing you that you are approaching danger. This is another risk, a way of risk management. You are approaching danger and you must do something about it. So for you to navigate this environment, you have to write for the senior management looking for exceptional, we call it exceptional circumstance. You need to fill a form called exceptional circumstance, stating the reason why you are demanding for this exceptional circumstance. Maybe you can see you can't finish this project within 6 months initially agreed, because maybe you look at the time we have COVID, a lot of companies shut down. Some people are managing projects at that time. What do? You find out so many of them cannot really meet up because of the unforeseen circumstances or national disaster or crisis or things like these are some of the things. So you going above your baseline is not necessarily means you are not competent. You are incompetent. No. But when you become incompetent is when you don't know how to do the necessary documentation to go above the baseline. And when you are going above the baseline, a lot of things happen. For instance, if your timeline is being affected, you are going above your timeline from 6 months to 7 months, it means it's equally going to affect your cost, your budget, because an additional 1 month you are going to work, the people that need to work within, still you need to pay them. If you are developers, you still need to pay the developers within that additional 1 month when you exceed your baseline. So it's very important to know what baseline is the project plan or project planning and how to manage it very well when you are going above your baseline. So when an exceptional circumstance is being approved for you to go above your baseline, means that more time is added or more resources added, then you need to create a new baseline for the new resources handed over to you. But it's very important that managing from the beginning, there's what we call contingency plan within this baseline. You must create contingency. As a good and experienced project manager, is that within the resources you have, create contingencies so that even if you are moving beyond the baseline, you will still be within your budget. It's very, very necessary. So like if you have 10,000 pounds to spend in that project, work and create the first baseline to become 7,000 pounds, meaning that you are creating a buffer, a contingency. So if you fall out from your first baseline, which is 7,000, then you can comfortably land in your 10,000, which is the original cost of that project, and that makes you a very smart project manager. You are not exceeding the cost, the budget in that project. So we'll have time to look at all these in details when we will come to this. We are still at the fundamental stage. So this here, you see managing and addressing issue that arises during the project execution. This is where the risk management plans come in. You need to create a risk management plan for managing and addressing the issue. Will always come out. Risk will always come out. Everybody knows that. But what makes you a good project manager is how do you manage the risk?
Yeah.
And some people are panicking. I don't want any risk. Issues must come out. So when you have regular RAID meeting, you must identify. RAID meeting is a meeting where you look at the way the health of the project and look at various risks arising. Is what the whole team must be. Is a statutory meeting the team must be having every week to evaluate the project's health, how healthy the project is, and try to fish out all the risk. Risk are issues that are in the making. So we call it potential issues. The risk is they are not happened at all. But issues are risk that has happened. So we try to, when we identify risk at the early stage, we can avert it and stopping it from happening. So that's why we must have a good risk management strategy in place to address risk and issues in projects. So it's still within the execution stage, and these are some of the things you need to do as a project manager within the execution stage. Within the execution stage, a business analyst have got a lot to do as well, but let us not be mixing it together. When we get to business analysis, we can identify some of the key deliverables that need to be done for business analysts.
Okay.
All right. Here is the performance monitoring and control. Like I said, the performance monitoring and control encompasses the whole stages within the life cycle. But it's good to, because of how important it is being carved out as a stage of its own, so that it can be some of the items within the performance and control will be identified and understand very well. One is establishing a baseline. We've already spoken about baseline. Define scope, schedule, and budgets as baseline for comparison. You must identify baseline. Regular progress tracking. Monitor actual progress against the plan, milestone, and deliverable. So these are what you do. That is short. That is your key job. Every day, there's something you do on daily basis. And this is what you do on daily basis as a project manager. Baseline monitoring can be on weekly basis. You look at the performance and everything, looking at, but regular progress tracking is, as a project manager, is your duty to assign deliverable to all the team members, including the business analyst. You assign what the business analyst should do to the business analyst. If you have other team members like developers, you assign them what they do. So is there everything they do in these projects, you are accountable. You might not be responsible, but you're accountable. Responsible means that they are, if his business analyst is responsible for a deliverable, the business analyst does that particular job. And accountability means that making sure that everybody is doing what they are supposed to do on time and on budget is you, the project manager. So you have to monitor what everybody is doing, making sure that if a business analyst is supposed to do a job within 2 days, you need to follow up and keep, if there is need for pressuring to make sure that the business analysts, they are doing their job. They need to show you what they are doing. You need to monitor their progress to make sure that they're actually doing what they are supposed to do. Not only the progress, you must have a baseline to monitor the quality of the work they are doing. And that is why it's good for you as a project manager. You must have good knowledge of business analysis so that you can know what they are doing, you understand what they are doing. Some people jump into business, become a project manager without being business. Yeah, you can navigate it, but so many struggle. But if you are following like what we are doing, understanding business analysis as well, and then after when we finish, become a project manager, you are not going to struggle. But it's important to understand everything because you are going to be not only time or the budget, they are doing it on time and on budget. You must understand the quality. Good. And here is a quality assurance. Implement process to assess and ensure the quality of the deliverable, just like I've just mentioned within the progress tracking. Then risk management. You must have what we call eagle eyes as the project manager. You can see what other people are not seeing in the project. What are you seeing? You can see risk coming ahead of time. You must be highly proactive to identify risk on time and then assess the risk, mitigate the project risk to minimize their impact on the performance. And then resource management. You must be a good resource manager. You should be able to break the resources into stages and apportion them to every task. Every task must have a resource apportioned to it. So we call it resource allocation. So you must be able to allocate and manage resources efficiently to prevent bottleneck or shortage. If you don't know how to manage resources, you will run shortage of fund. And so many junior project managers, this is always their pitfall. They run shortage of fund, and so that's why it's good for you to at least have some experience as a coordinator before you. But if you know it from day one, it's not a rocket science. So you can know how to break the resources into manageable stages. If you know how to break your resources, create a breakdown structure, all you need to do is make sure that you share the resources within the various stages. And then change control. Evaluate and manage changes in projects, scope, schedule, or budget to maintain alignment with objective. This, what we call change control, is very important. So many people get stuck at this point. They don't know what, how to manage changes in a project, and this is one of the major questions we are going to be facing during the interview. They want to know how you manage a change, or how you manage what we call scope creep in project management, more especially in waterfall. Okay, in waterfall, which we are dealing with, when we have a change is moving away from the action plan, moving away from your scope. So that is what we call a change. How do you manage such a? It's always a very difficult situation. I will give you a clear instance in a digital project. If you are creating a website for a news agency, at the beginning, they ask you to create a website that can help them publish articles. That means that website, the major area or the major scope within that website is blogging and articles. So you'll be able to, so that they can use it to create news, and that is blogging. But over time, if you are watching so many news agencies or news media, you can see that so many of them now are having marketplace in their news websites. So that particular marketplace or shopping cart is an additional requirement. So if you are originally asked to create a website or create a software for news agency just for blogging alone, they have given you the budgets, they have given you the resources, deploy all the budget and resources, and you've agreed on a timeline, maybe 6 months, to deliver this project. And then the manager, another manager or senior manager comes to you, Chinenye, I want this thing to be added to this website. I want a shopping cart or an e-commerce marketplace to be added to this website. You know that will come with additional cost.
Yeah. Yes.
So e-commerce website is not something you just do e-commerce, snap your finger and we just add. To add an e-commerce to that can take like additional 2 months.
Yeah.
And then you might even require more technical or experienced developers at this point, because most developers can create a blog website. But when it comes to which is going to come with payment gateway and a lot of things, you can't just say yes, or you cannot just say no. You must have a way to address this issue. And this is where you bring the attention to what is captured in the scope. All you need to do is let them know that this is additional requirement and is a change. Yeah, is a change and is going to affect your original scope. For you to do that, you are going out of scope. The most wise way to handle this issue is to draw the attention of the stakeholder to the project charter. If you have a project charter, you will see where it clearly stated that
This is out of scope.
yes, the original scope is contained in the project charter. So you see it in the project charter, everything. So if they're asking you what is not in the project charter, and this project charter has been authorized, that this money is going to be used for this so items within the scope. So adding another item within the scope is out of your scope. You have to be very diligent. You have to be able to communicate that without within a very diplomatic way, because this is where the project managers find themselves in so many of them, because they cannot feel. Maybe you see big manager or the CEO, you start shaking. You know, what can I do? You just the only way you can do is drag the attention or make reference to the project charter that is out of scope. But when the project manager, or sorry, the stakeholder insists, all you need to do is let it be documented and push forward for approval. And once it's approved, then they must approve more funding for you, and they must approve, maybe extend their timeline. Means that the scope has to be increased, and that means another baseline. You are moving away from the original baseline to a new baseline, because the original scope has been violated. So there must be, and it must be amended in the project charter as well. So the what we'll have, let me quickly see. This is a project charter. This is going to be for our next topic, but let me use it to address this issue here. Looking at the project charter here, you see the scope.
Yes.
You can see the scope.
Yes.
The delivery, everything is captured, and then you see here signatures. The project manager and sponsor, their signatures and dates. Means that this is an authority for you to spend money within the scope listed here. And within this scope, these are the deliverables. And this is how, and this is their team. These are the people captured originally here. So if you need to employ more persons around this scope, outside this scope, you need approval. And this must be amended within the project. Anything you are doing that is not within the scope captured here, when this date is when this signature and date is captured here, you are dealing with is a risk in a project. So you must, this is a very document, it saves you anywhere you go within the project. When somebody comes, do this, you just refer the person here. It's not within the scope. And once you do something like this, all of them will run away from you, knowing that you are an experienced project manager. So that is how this change control, this is how you effective change control in a project management is. Try to know how to manage the scopes. Here, evaluate and manage changes to project scope. Changes to project scope here. How do I manage it? They are going out of this scope, whether in schedule or in budget. So you must know how to do it. When situations come like this, just go to project, refer the person to project charter, capture whatever change they want to capture, and then let them know the impact of the change they want to bring that is going to make you out of scope. But they are the owner of the project. If they are happy with that, okay, let them, bring a new budget and do the needful and do the necessary amendment in the project charter. So that is it in performance and control. And then communication, foster transparent communication among stakeholders to address issues promptly and keep all parties informed. We've already addressed that, where we are going to create
Budgets.
communication action plan, that we are going to have different communication strategies for different stakeholders. The plan, the strategy you use for me as a business analyst is not the strategy you are going to use for the project sponsor. The project sponsor might be needing once in a week, just come to him and update him about the project status. Some will want you to come and have a session with them where you people talk it out. Some people will want you to send them an email and attach the project reports. So you must understand which one that works for them and put it in your communication plan.
Yeah.
Okay, and then we'll come to closure.
Closure.
Within the closure, we have different deliverables to address. Conducting a project closure meeting to review project achievement and lesson learned. So this is what you need to do as a project manager. You must capture what we call a lesson learned from every project that need to be documented and archived within the project repository, so that when people working on that project document becomes a valuable resource for the organization. They can make reference. It becomes part of their archive in their library. So when somebody is implementing ERP projects in the company, they can go and look if there is any ERP project being implemented in the past, and they can look at the lesson learned to learn all the mistakes, your struggles, everything, the way you manage the project. They can learn from that. So it's very important that you capture the lesson learned and document it.
Okay.
You are not going to do it alone. You do it with the project team. So everybody will be there where you talk about your lesson, challenges, how you wish things were done this way. These are what we call lesson learned. When we come to lesson learned report, we'll identify some of the key areas. Then obtain formal acceptance of the project deliverable from the stakeholders. Before a project can be closed, there's a document called formal acceptance from the stakeholders. This is done in conjunction with the project manager and the business analyst. And the business analyst knows to do the documentation and then issue out. But the project manager must be present as well. So this is when the stakeholder will go through the project, making sure that everything is within the expected objective. And if the project sponsor is happy, the project sponsor will sign the form. Okay. Once the form is signed, that is officially signaling that the project has come to an end. Mm-hmm. Then, when that form is signed, the project manager will proceed to create a project closure report. And then the project closure report will then document everything that happens within the project. And then the project will automatically come to an end when the project report is issued out to the stakeholders. That project report must be approved as well. Closure report must be approved. Once approved, then the project manager can then call a meeting for celebration. And that's how a project is managed. Following these 5 or 4 stages. It's not easy, but if you follow it this way, you find out that it's always going to be easy for you, you know. So that's what makes you a project manager. Knowing how to manage a project, following this rigorous, I call it rigorous because it's not easy, following this rigorous on daily basis, following it till you get to this stage. At times, this you can see it can take like 4 years, depending on the kind of project. Can take 2 months, can take 3 months, can take 6 months, depend. So this is, but whichever or how long it is, you must pass this. These are stages you pass. So that is the life of a project. Just like you, a human being, from a baby, toddler to teenager, a child, teenager, adult,
Yeah.
to elderly person, and eventually the person dies.
Yeah.
So that is how the projects equally, follow it. So, in conclusion, understanding the project management life cycle is essential for effective managing projects from start to finish. By following a structured approach and adhering to the key phases of initiation, planning, execution, and closure, project managers can increase the likelihood of project success and deliver valuable outcome to stakeholders. So this is where we are bringing it to the end for tonight. And the next is going to be project management documents and deliverables. We'll have a lot of documents we need to review and deliverables. Once you understand all the documents and deliverables, then you can start smiling. At least this is the key. So the next thing is then to understand the tools you are going to use to achieve this documentation and deliverables, and then how we are going to carry ourselves as a project manager, which is the soft skills in project management. Once we are done with all those things, and we can start calling ourselves project managers before, some of the techniques as well, and then we'll start going into our array project. So if you have any question based on this project life cycle, I can still entertain your questions before we close.
Okay, thank you, sir, for this section. So if a project is meant to last for 6 months, when do you start counting? Is it before producing the charter, or that's before it's signed, or after that?
If a project is meant to last for 6 months, the project starts from the initiate stage, from the time. That's why you say you have to count from conception, because it's still part of it. It's when they said that's why I call it initiate stage.
Yeah.
When you start counting from charter, when you produce charter, you might, but at this initiate stage is the outcome of this initiate stage that will produce the charter. So it's from the first day they hand over to you, or they call you in a meeting telling you that this is what we want to call a project brief. Like I said, there's small documentation within this, but this is the major documentation that comes out of it, project charter. So there's small document, like you call a kickoff meeting. So that is when officially projects start from a project kickoff meeting.
Okay.
And that kickoff meeting is the first day within this initiate stage. That's when you call the team and say, officially this project is starting today. Inviting all the members, the team members at that point. Over time, you can keep on admitting team members in a project, but when you're having a kickoff meeting is when the project officially starts. So if it's a 6 months, it encompasses from initiate stage to closure stage. So that is the first day. So it must be within this stage, everything within the life cycle. So,
yeah. Okay.
but when we keep, we're going to look at all the, in details, all the items. There are so many items within the life cycle when we're breaking them down into deliverables, like what I showed you here, you know. So like here, which there's still more things to be captured, which is not only you. There's a lot of things going on from the business analyst, from the project manager. You see, it's not only you that only activity that's going. There's a lot of activities from other team members. Although the project charter is the main one that is you are going to, you know, require for authorization for the project for you to start spending money.
Yes.
So that is it. We are going to, when time comes, you see, like, you see, this is a skeletal, you know, documentation of how this ERP project is going to be. So it's not when the project charter is from the day one when you call a meeting that and introduce the project to the team members. When that is when the project is officially start. So that's when you start counting.
Okay.
Because within all those days, you find out they have people have joined already, and people started receiving salary already. So you
Yeah.
cannot tell them the project have not started. The moment the project kicks off, they start paying everybody because people will start coming to work. And
Yes.
which work to work on that project. If you are using internal maybe team members from the company, but you find out some projects, most of the team members in that project are contractors. You can see contract business analyst, you see contract project coordinator, and so many of them, they are contractors and they need to be paid.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So Anastasia, are you here?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, do you have any question, please?
No, I'm all right for now. Thank you.
All right. So this is where we're bringing into the end for tonight. And project management is a very sweet topic because it encompasses everything you do. Even when you are cooking, it's still a project. So thank you for joining, and we're going to, with this one we've had already, to keep us busy, we'll be adding quizzes on it. So you look out for the quiz, and if I have spare time, I will equally be like I said, Monday, Friday, and Mondays. We can have more topic or more lessons outside this. But these are 2 days we can not do without. Cannot do without these 2 days. But you have extra days, I will equally ask you if you have spare time for us to add more lectures within the week.
Okay. I can always make an adjustment anytime.
All right. That's very good.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, guys, and good night.
All right. Thank you. Good night.
Yeah.